We're going to get started. My name is Brian Boyles. I'm Executive Director of Mass Humanities. It's a great honor to welcome all of you all to the 2022 class of Worcester Clemente's graduation celebration. On behalf of the National Endowment for the Humanities, Mass Cultural Council, and the board and staff of Mass Humanities, I want to thank all of you all for the amount of time and love you have put into what has led to this moment in this graduation. Clemente classes all across the state are graduating this year, and there are Clemente classes across the nation that are graduating this year. In the last 2 years, at least 200 people have participated in a Clemente course in Massachusetts. In Massachusetts, as in Worcester and across the nation, people know that Elizabeth Bacon is the standard bearer for a great humanist in this country. She knows the texts and she knows the people and she knows how to get all of us in a room in this very historic time in order to do the great thing of celebrating these great people. I also want to thank the faculty of the Clemente Worcester group. This is a time when people across the country seem to want to question the worth of expertise and scholarship. And we know that when you look at the faculty of Clemente Worcester, you see people that are the solutions, people that put in the time, that put in the care, and that match their wisdom with the wisdom of the people that walk in the door from many different perspectives to study the humanities in the evening, twice a week for 110 hours. Thank you to the faculty of Clemente Worcester. We're going to hear from many great people today. The last people that I wanted to thank, though, are the family and friends of the Clemente students who have heard them talk about philosophy and the Epic of Gilgamesh and all the things that they've wrestled with. It's an amazing thing that you do to make space for the people that you care about so that they can do the great things they've done for this year. I want to thank, before we get started today, two people who have been so fundamental to the success of this program from the very beginning, Rep. Mary Keefe and Frank Karthazer. It's good to see you both. I also want to thank our good friends from the Alden Trust who will continue to support this program and Mass Humanities in major ways. I'm now looking for the list that Amy gave me that has the rest of the good folks to study. It's also important that we note, and this is something that's actually very unique here in Worcester, that 4 colleges continue to provide financial underwriting for faculty this year: Clark University, Worcester State University, Quinsigamon Community College, and Anna Maria College. Thank you to all of them. It's now a great pleasure of mine to do something I've been doing a lot of over the last couple months, which is introduce somebody who I finally got to meet in person after knowing for quite a while, our partners, Roger Martin and the Worcester County Poetry Association.
Thank you, Brian. And what a thrill to be back inside the Antiquarian Society again. And now I have to find my piece of paper. Oh. Distinguished guests, distinguished graduates, on behalf of the Worcester County Poetry Association, I welcome you to this 8th graduation of Worcester's Clemente course in the humanities. Poetry in the humanities, poetry in the world, poetry in our languages. In these uncertain times, poetry, which at its best weaves meaning and understanding into those events which defy meaning and understanding, helps us move forward, not backward, helps us keep placing one foot in front of the other, regardless of the obstacles before us. Ukrainian poet Lezhia Ukrainka wrote at the turn of the 20th century these words, translated by Alicia Kromichak. Who told you that I might be weak, that fate I would obey? Who told you that my hand might shake, that word and thought are frail? You heard me sing a woeful song, a lamentation wail, but that was just a warm spring storm and not the autumn gale. It is the humanities that enable us to hold faith with 12th century Sufi poet Farid al-Din Attar's words, which Abraham Lincoln later made famous during the dark days leading up to the Civil War, when he said, "This too shall pass." Graduates, you have taken the first step in a hard time, but it is only the first of many steps each of you will take in the lives ahead of you. And though this time too shall pass, I am confident our world will be a better place because of the steps you will take. Congratulations.
Something that makes Worcester Clemente particularly important and stand out across the state is the amount of community support that they have. I want to thank Mayor Joe Petty for being here. I also want to thank my good friend Scott Casper, who has opened this building up for its first in-person event in 2 years for the Clemente graduation. Now for our invocation, I'm happy to introduce Pastor Nathan Hippo.
I bring greetings from my congregation, Trinity Lutheran Church. We play a small role, but important role in the Clemente program by providing space for childcare for the students so that they have a place for their kids to study while they're learning. So we're glad to partner in this way, and I'm glad to be with you today. You know, the namesake of our church, Martin Luther, was a university professor, and he valued the role of education. And for Martin Luther, the role of education was to learn about God and learn how to love and serve one another. In 2007, the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America adopted a statement on education that gave thanks for education in all of its many forms. Quote, "We give thanks to God for institutions and individuals in all of education's varied settings. We give thanks to God for all who live out their vocation as students, teachers, professors, administrators, staff members, directors, board members, and trustees in educational settings," end quote. And so for my vocation, I pray. Thank you, God. Thank you for these students, for these professors, for this Clemente course in humanities, and all who support it in any way. As seeds of new life, may these graduates go forth in their new knowledge to love and serve their neighbors and make the world a better place. Amen.
To my mind, the people of Clemente continue to join the great American experiment, and the things that are captured in this very building, the wishes and hopes and accounts and reports of many things that took place in the first few hundred years of this republic. That's why it's a great honor to be here and introduce my friend Scott Casper.
Welcome. Welcome back, and welcome to the American Antiquarian Society. Graduates, family, and friends, we are honored to have you here and moved that you have chosen to share your graduation with us here at the American Antiquarian Society. For more than 200 years, the American Antiquarian Society has been collecting, preserving, and most important, making available to readers the material of the American past. And I know, graduates, that you came here a few weeks ago, and we were so pleased to have you here. I hope that each of you feels welcome to come in the future whenever you want, as you want to do research in our collections, look at materials. This place is for you as it is for all of us. Welcome. It's fitting that you are here today because the American Antiquarian Society is about telling the stories of America and Americans in all their complexity. And from talking with Elizabeth Bacon and others who are involved in the Clemente class, I know that for the past year, you have been talking about those stories with one another intensely. And so this is the place for you. It's equally fitting that your commencement speaker today is Jill Lepore, one of the most important and prolific historians today, and also the author of the book I understand you've read, These Truths, A History of the United States. Dr. Lapore is the David Woods Kemper Class of 41 Professor of American History at Harvard and a staff writer for The New Yorker. She's also the author of more than a dozen books and counting, and she's won countless awards. But by way of introducing her today, I want to say 4 things about why Jill Lepore's work matters. First, she's interested in the whole American past, not just one specialized piece of it. Her writings range from the experiences of Native Americans, enslaved people, and women as political actors and thinkers in colonial North America, to our own day, the stories of Wonder Woman or the Tea Party movement. And of course, These Truths is a testament to her interest in the entirety of American history and its complexity, in offering us a past that helps us understand the present while never glossing over the complexity. Second, she's interested in questions and problems of evidence, how we know what we know, and who is and is not represented in the evidence we use, and how we can glimpse the stories and the lives of those who aren't as well represented in the evidence. If we want to understand the experiences of all Americans, not just those who left long documentary trails, we need to ask about the evidence. Third, she's known as a great teacher. She was named a Harvard College professor, which is a distinction that Harvard gives specifically for great teaching. And fourth, she's committed to connecting historical scholarship based on critical examination of evidence with audiences beyond the university. She writes for The New Yorker. She has a podcast, and she's here today to be with you, the graduates and your family and friends in the Clemente course in the Humanities, to share her insights and to celebrate your accomplishment with you. So it's my pleasure to welcome, and please join me in welcoming, Professor Jill Lepore back to the American Antiquarian Society.
All right. Wow, it is such an honor to be here with you guys. Congratulations! We got to kind of bring down the house. I'm so excited. And thank you, Scott, for the lovely introduction. I really am delighted to be in this beautiful place, this temple of knowledge. I grew up not far from here, and the first time I walked into this room, I really thought I might pass out. Like because I looked up and then I did the thing, I got really dizzy, but also just awed by the Masons that built this place, the people that donated these books, the thinkers who've sat at these tables reading those books, and you all here, the work you have done that brings you to this place this day, and your families who've come here to celebrate with you and to honor you. I'm going to get dizzy again, so I'll stop. Just wanted to thank the American Antiquarian Society really for everything. The Worcester County Poetry Association and Mass Humanities for supporting this really tremendous program. So congratulations to each of you and to your families And to the people who love you and whom you love, who are not with us today, but are all over the world, the people that helped get you here, but couldn't be here with us. I'm just so moved by your dedication to the humanities, by your hard work, reading and thinking, and arguing about the kinds of books that are stored in buildings like this, reading and thinking about beautiful, difficult, searing, and stirring ideas. Books written by Toni Morrison, Plato, Sherman Alexie, Aristotle, John Stuart Mill, Frederick Douglass. And I'm awed too by your writing, which I just had the chance to briefly skim in this incredible chapbook if you haven't already picked it up. So I will say it's a strange thing about a day like this, because I would love to just be sitting there hearing all of your stories. The arrangement is that I'm supposed to tell you a story. And so what I thought I might do is tell you a story today about my father and his books. And this story begins with my grandfather. And I chose this theme just thinking about faraway family members that we have lost, the people that you would like to be in this room with you today, but maybe can't be here, to try to just invoke them. Imagine their presence with us is something I do a lot. So I'm not going to speak for too long. Want to get to the business of the day, but I'll tell you this story. My father once told me that his father, whose name was Giovanni Lapore, who I believe Giovanni Lapore, so it was said in the day. My father once told me that his father used to bring sandwiches to Sacco and Vanzetti when they were in prison in Charlestown in the 1920s. In case you don't know this story, Nicola Sacco and Bartolomeo Vanzetti were Italian immigrants who were arrested, tried, convicted, and eventually executed for a crime that they didn't commit. My grandfather had immigrated to the United States in 1907, the same year that Sacco and Vanzetti did. They were all poor Italian peasants. And in the 1910s, my grandfather and Vanzetti had worked together, not too far from here in Clinton, Massachusetts, a factory town. They were helping to build the railroad there. And with all the other Italian immigrant workers, they lived in railroad sleeping cars in a part of town that was just known as Little Italy, because the company didn't want to bother providing housing. Vanzetti later wrote about these years. Here I made many friends whom I remember with the strongest emotion, with a love unaltered and unalterable. I like to think that one of those friends was my grandfather, Giovanni, but I have no idea because I think my father made this story up. I don't know very much about my grandfather. I never met him. I do know that he joined the army in the First World War and became a US citizen the way so many immigrants did, using service in the military as a pathway to citizenship at the time. And I do know that his father, my great-grandfather in Italy, paid a scribe to write my grandfather a letter. Try to come back soon over to your mother's arms, dear son. The way you said that you are sick to stay all alone, we are feeling the same way because we get pretty old. So I pray that you come back. You can get wife. I was thinking about this as I was reading the beautiful letters in your chapbook, written to people often in faraway lands. It's amazing to me that this letter that my great-grandfather wrote to my grandfather survived, and it survives only because it was part of a passport application that he filed in order to go back to Italy to get wife, which he did in 1920. He did go back to Italy. He found that wife, my grandmother, and came back to Clinton and then never saw his homeland again. I was thinking too today, reading Christine Nagda's poem, I Miss My Home, Egypt, in the chapbook that you all have in your hands. What it is to miss a home, what it is to leave your home to come to this country and make a new home, maybe to go home to get wife. What it is to never go back again, as so many people are never able to do. My grandfather never learned to speak English. He never was able really to write. He did, however, have strong views about the exploitation of immigrants like him, man who helped dig out the Wachusett Reservoir, not too far from here, and build the Clinton Dam, holding all that water in. Once, when there was a rumor that Sacco and Vanzetti were going to blow up the Clinton Dam, my grandfather, according to my father, sat in a tree over the reservoir and watched out for them all night. And later, when they were in prison, he brought Vanzetti those sandwiches, provolone and prosciutto on pumpernickel, I'm told, or so the story goes. My grandfather died during the Great Depression, hitchhiking to Boston looking for work. He more or less died of poverty. So I gather my grandfather was something radical, but in sympathizing with Sacco and Vanzetti, he was pretty much in the majority. On the day that Sacco and Vanzetti were brought to the electric chair in 1927, 250,000 people protested, marching in Boston. Much was written about their political philosophy. Like my grandfather, they were socialists. And from prison, Vanzetti wrote the story of his life. As a boy in Italy, he'd spent 7 years in school, from age 6 to 13, and someone in the town had a library, so Vanzetti had started reading. He read St. Augustine. He wrote, "The principles of humanism and equality of rights began to make a breach in my heart." He got a hold of Dante's Divine Comedy. He wrote, "My teeth were not made for such a bone, but I gnawed it desperately." He read history, literature, philosophy. He read some of the books that you've read in the Clemente program. In prison for 7 years, he read and read and read. "I feel the fever of knowledge in me," he wrote. And he concluded from all of his reading, and I wonder what you all have concluded from your reading. He concluded, "The plague which besets humanity most cruelly is ignorance." I like to think that my grandfather, who could do some reading, read some of those same books and came to the same conclusions. I'm pretty sure he read Dante. Nicola Sacco, when he married and had a son, named him Dante. And my grandfather, when he married and had a son, named him Dante too. He had a second son, my father, and named him Francisco Amerigo, after his new home. My father was named in honor of an immigrant family's new country. My father grew up in Clinton, in an Italian neighborhood known as the Acre. They had no heating and plumbing in his house, and he liked to tell a story about how he first heard of toothpaste when a box of it fell off a truck that was riding down the road. And some kid in the neighborhood explained what it was for. He graduated from high school in 1941 and took a job as a janitor, but after the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, he joined the Army. He went to Fort Devens for his induction, and they pulled out most of his teeth. They were rotten from never having heard of toothpaste. And he went and fought in the war. I think about Vanessa Gonzalez's poem, "A Father Stands on the Train Platform with Wide Eyes and Tense, Stretched Lips." I think about my father on that train platform going off to war in 1941. After the war, he went to Clark University. He didn't have a car. He didn't have enough money for bus fare. He hitchhiked every day from Clinton to Worcester to attend classes. Although apparently he mostly skipped classes because he had a job. He worked in a book bindery just to be near the books. My father always wanted to be a writer. He wanted to be Ernest Hemingway, but he never quite succeeded. But like Vanzetti, he actually wrote an autobiography, never published. He called it Diary of an Unknown. My father, just to give you a glimpse of the man, he had an extraordinary affection for strange antique medicinals, ointments, tinctures, elixirs. He smoked a pipe that he filled with Briggs tobacco from a tin. He drank Moxie. Does anyone remember Moxie? And he smelled like Old Spice, that old man's aftershave, and Physoderm, a gentleman's soap. He had pock marks all over his back. He told us they were from bullet holes from the war, but they were just pock marks. He'd never been shot, but I think what he meant to say was that he had been marked by the war indelibly, by its horrors. He kept a stack of books by his bed, mystery novels mostly. He read them at night, lying down, listening to the Red Sox on a transistor radio. He and his brother Dante were both public school teachers, the noblest profession. Like so many of you, like me, like so many people here, my father found himself in books, tucked in between the pages like a bookmark. Mostly he borrowed books from the town library or the library of the school where he was teaching. We never had very many books of our own around the house, except that in his den, he kept a shelf of the first books he had ever owned, his college textbooks, the books he read as a college student. When he died, I inherited those books, a little lovely library. Most of them are tiny. You can hold them in one hand. They're all bound in cloth. They all smell like Briggs tobacco. Modern library editions, Everyman editions, Viking portable library editions. They're soft and, like my father, much pocked. I recently looked up his Clark transcript, and I can see that every one of these books was a book he had to buy for class. We have a copy of Julius Caesar that was my father's. In Shakespeare, sophomore year, my father got a C. An anthology of Ernest Hemingway for the short story, got a B-. Selections from the poetical works of Robert Browning for romantic poetry, a C+. In the whole of Browning, my father has underlined one line in pencil. Ah, but a man's reach should exceed his grasp, or what's a heaven for? The most marked up of all of my father's books in his little library of his college textbooks that he kept is an edition of Virgil's Aeneid. He must have read it for a class called Roman Civilization, for which he got another B+. I will be clear, my father never got an A at any point in part of his education. B+ is the highest grade he ever got. He got it in this one class, Roman Civilization, which was, I think, because it was taught in Latin, and he knew Latin because he was Italian. The Aeneid is also the only book my father ever put his name in. On the end paper, he stuck a return address sticker so that if this book, if it ever got lost, it would make its way from Worcester, from Clark University, to his house in Clinton, where he lived with his mother and his brother and his sister. The book, Virgil's Works, is bound in green cloth with a black leather insert on the cover. My father in college wrote all over it, scribbles in the margins, underlines in the text, notes to himself, notes to Virgil. Notice the piety of Aeneas, he's written on top of page 39. And Aeneas won't go without his father. Seek we Crete and our forefathers, he's underlined on page 47. On page 57, he noted in the right-hand margin, they cite Italy. Virgil wrote the Aeneid in about 20 BC. My father's English translation begins this way. I sing of arms and the man who came of old, a fated wanderer from the coasts of Troy to Italy. Aeneas falls in love with Dido, an African queen, and then betrays her. He cries all the time about the suffering caused by war. As one world collapses, another is being built. Happy are those whose walls are rising, Virgil writes. And yet everywhere is war. Raw fear was everywhere, grief was everywhere, everywhere the many masks of death. I hear, in rereading those lines of Virgil's Aeneid, Lin Zhang's poem, The Road to My Hometown, all a song in my memory. And when I look at that book, I picture my father, a very young man who had seen so much war and wandered the world as a warrior, falling in love with the story of a homeland he had never seen, his father's Italy. My father, too, was looking for a home when he took Roman civilization in his senior year in Worcester in 1949. A job, a wife, a family, children, but he had found, too, a story of himself in literature. He found in the Aeneid, I think, a story of his family's past, a story of immigration, wandering, a search for equality, troubled, haunted by war and the sorrows of war. He found Aeneas wearing the mask of death, carrying the burden of grief, honoring the dead, building a new home, wondering why the good suffer, why war endures, and citing Italy, finding home, finding beauty, finding home in a poem. Seek we Crete and our forefathers. My father, who never knew toothpaste as a child, my father who had all his teeth pulled out by the US Army, my father who wore dentures from the age of 18, he'd stick out his dentures at us when we were children, pretending to be a monster. My father, the gentlest man I ever knew, he got a hold of these books when he went to college, books, the relics of the dead, and he found that after all, his teeth were made for these bones. Of course, it's not all about the books and the time you've had studying together and the beautiful, fearless writing that you've done, the poems, the letters that you've written, and more. It's about the teachers and one another, each seminar, each insight, the glancing remark, the startling idea, the sharing, the compassion, the bringing of a sandwich, provolone and prosciutto on pumpernickel to a prisoner. You will carry all of that with you wherever you go in the world from this day, from this beautiful, sacred room, from this room here now. You will carry to one another and your families and these books. You will pile them onto a table one day. You will prop them up on a shelf. You will take them down and reread them. You will loan them out. You will get them back. You will head to the library. You will get some more and you will pass them on to your children and your grandchildren, because every book is a gift, every library an inheritance. And every student, each of you here today is like a scroll unfurling, parchment not quite inked, a story half written, an heirloom of knowledge, curiosity, learning, and love to be handed down and used. The education you have gotten through the Clemente program is not something precious to be sealed in a box. It is something living, fierce, anxious, eager, demanding, squalling like a newborn. And that finally is what I'd like to leave you with today. To ask you to care for that infant, that newborn knowledge, that mewling baby, this education, to know that it is the child of your whole family and all of your ancestors, and to know that it falls to you to care for it and help it grow and thrive. May it marvel at all the world and its beauty. May it shudder at the world's cruelties and injustices and seek to right them. And lastly, after thanking you for the honor of having the chance to speak with you today, I wanted to tell you, but you know this already, that you will find as you grow older that this child, this knowledge that you have bundled and swaddled and loved and adored, this child of knowledge will grow up and one day it will carry you. Thank you.
It's now my great pleasure to introduce someone I admire very much, the academic director of Clemente Worcester, Amy Richter.
Should have thought about this when I organized the program. Good idea. Let's talk after Jill Lepore. All right, the good news is I am here only to pass the buck on to my students, our students, and invite up the 4 students selected to offer remarks on behalf of the class of 2022. You will see the order in your program, but it is wrong because I have been bossed again by Luciane, who demands to go last. And so I will first invite up Vanessa Gonzalez Oyola, and then Kelly Burgos, and then Neston Melville Jones, and then, as he desires, Luciane White.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here in this beautiful day. My name is Vanessa Gonzalez Oyola. I am from Arecibo, Puerto Rico, and I will be reading to you a poem that I wrote for commencement. What is commencement? We ask ourselves. Is it the beginning of a new journey? A journey full of challenges, challenges that make you not want to continue, challenges that make you want to stop and keep going with our lives and our old selves. But here we stand tall and proud. We have endured. We allowed ourselves to be taught, to be guided. Now we walk being mindful of others, mindful of ourselves. Now we speak our injustices. Now we can stand up for others. Now we can read out loud. Now we can write. We can put our soul on paper because someone out there wants to read us, wants to read our souls, so they too can feel free. Clemente woke us up, woke us our dormant thoughts, woke us to ourselves, into who we are meant to be. Commencement is us classifying our lives into the purpose we have etched within each one of us, the power to start up grandiosity. Commencement is waking us, walking in a new light, by ourselves, with one another, towards a better future that we will build together. Thank you.
My name is Kelly. I grew up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and I was just honored to be with all these students, to learn, to share. So I wanted to remind you of some things today, some quotes. There's a lady by the name of Holly Girth that wrote, "I realize we have graduations because life is short and it matters that we mark the milestones, the passage of time. Yet it seems once we finish school, we struggle to do so. Adulthood becomes a blur of calendar pages, work days, and endless loads of laundry. I wonder, what have I graduated from lately? In other words, what have I learned? How have I grown? I imagine when you look at your life, you can see little graduations too. I'm not talking only about the big accomplishments or grand changes. Instead, I'm encouraging you, all of us, to celebrate the small and simple, the ordinary and the unnoticed, the hidden that has brought us to where we are today." This quote I found, and I'm not sure who posted it, but I thought it fit us. "Behind you, all your memories. Before you, all your dreams. Around you, all who love you. Within you, all you need." Clemente class, we've done this. We've established a really close bond, a close friendship. We've encouraged each other, and I'm grateful to know you all.
Distinguished guests, families, friends, faculty, and members of Clemente's graduating class 2022. A pleasant afternoon to you all. For those of you who don't know who am I, my name is Neston Melville Jones. I'm from Jamaica. And for the next 5 to 7 minutes, I want to be the center of attraction. So for those of you who will be taking pictures, like Vanessa, this is my good side, so you can get it. Yes, so as I began thinking about what to say to you today, I thought about telling you stories about art history. Do we want to do that? There are children here, we can't do that. Or I could tell you stories about how Ozzy took us to the writing workshop and allowed me to see the many flaws of my writing. Here am I thinking that I was a great writer until I met Jose. Or Mark, Professor Mark, with his way of bringing across literature, using music to get through to us. Or Amy's true history. But then I heard Professor Laura's voice in my head saying, she reminded me about the fate of the famous Greek philosopher, Socrates, who lived long ago. Socrates was very intelligent but Socrates gave long speeches and his friends killed him. And now I don't want to be that. I don't want Tariq to kill me. Now, in this afternoon's address, I would like to draw upon the wisdom of Jill Lepore, who we are fortunate to have as our guest speaker. Jill opined, no nation has a single history, no people a single song. The Clemente program has helped us by garnering and composing our songs, a song that we will continue to sing in years to come. Clemente has provided me and so many others the opportunity to pursue higher learning in a way many of likely thought not possible. Beyond pragmatic aims of this program, there is a powerful ambition towards the pursuit of knowledge. Now, as I was writing this speech, I also came across a poem I would like to share with my fellow graduates. We didn't have technology. Technology wasn't a part of the program. So if I stumble and if I'm taking too long to find this poem, it's because Elizabeth didn't put technology in the course and so on. Now I am struggling to find the poem that I really want to share with my fellow graduates. And here we go, we have it. This poem is entitled The Beginning. It is written by Peter H. Reynolds. And I'm sure my Professor Mark is very proud of me incorporating a poem in my speech. This very moment is a new beginning. The clock talks, every tick, every talk, saying, now, now, now. A new beginning is starting now. The clock sings, time to begin, time to ponder your stars up yonder. Let them guide, connected to the dreams inside. The clock strikes 12, reminding ourselves of a new beginning. This very moment is a new beginning. So as I leave, I want Romaine, Christine, Doris, Kelly, LaShawn, Lynn, LaShane, Mary, Nazia, Naveen, Ramar, Tariq, Vanessa, Victoria, Walter, and Manasseh to just remember. And I wish for you all the good luck in the coming years in our lives. May the years to come be kind and treat you well. God bless you, and God bless each citizen of America.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Mayor of the City of Worcester, Joseph Petty, the Advisory Board, professors, fellow graduates, class of 2022. I'm here to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of the class of 2022. As a great author once said, a real decision is measured by the fact that you haven't taken an action. If there's no action you haven't taken, they're truly not decided. We all have taken that action, and we are grateful for your support and your encouragement. We thank you.
I've got everybody's notes now. So now the reason we are here, the commencement part of the commencement. Before we recognize the class of 2022, I wanted to ask if there are any members of the class of 2020 in the room. Well, Susie, would you please stand and be recognized? And Lana. We were not able to celebrate your commencement face-to-face, but we were no less proud of you, and we are happy to recognize you now. So this part is the part that kept me up at night. This should look like moderately controlled chaos. Let me first state that there will be many goodies distributed. If I were sitting where you were sitting, all I would want to know is what are the goodies. So our students will receive their certificates of completion. Our students will receive a collection of James Baldwin's writings, because when I was speaking to Professor Lapore and asked if she had a suggestion, she said, "Words I will now live by. You can never go wrong with James Baldwin." I wrote it down. And our students will also receive a copy of Professor Lapore's Book of Ages, because I have created a new little fan base for you. You're welcome. The way that we do this is each student select someone to present them. The faculty will please join me. And so again, Elisa Chase, Jose Gonzalez, Laura Kane, and Mark Wagner. We will run around like lunatics gathering the goodies to present them. Our first presenter is Ben Mayiga, who will be presenting Romaine with his diploma. Come on down.
Hello guys, my name is Ben Maiga. I'm from the same country, Burkina Faso in West Africa. I want to say to my brother, I'm proud of you. Thank you.
Start with me. I have to get taller? I was going to say, all right. I am now happy to invite Sarah and Alana to come up to present to their mother, Christine.
Hi, my name is Sarah and Christine is my mom. She is a really fun person to meet. She is a hardworking mom who's kind. My mom is creative and finds cool art to show me. You will love having my mom as a friend. She is the best and I love her.
Next up, I'm going to invite my fantastic colleague, Elizabeth Bacon, to come say a few words about Doris.
Well, last night, sadly, we heard that Doris was not going to be able to make it, but she sent these remarks for you all. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be part of Clemente. I can honestly say that it was a great experience. Even if I wasn't always talkative in class, I learned a lot, and I am grateful to all of the teachers and program directors. To my classmates, no matter how many challenges you face, it is never too late to pursue what you want in life. And she ends by quoting American politician and motivational speaker Les Brown. Life is a fight for territory. And once you stop fighting for what you want, what you don't want will automatically take over. Best wishes to everyone, Doris Ramos.
And now it is my pleasure to invite Camuel and Amaris up to present Kelly.
Amaris, come here. Come here. Come here. Come here.
So first of all, I would like to say to my mom, I'm very proud of you. I'm one of the 7 kids. I'm the oldest. When you have 7 kids, you don't really have a lot of time to do what you want to do. So I'm really proud of my mom for doing something that she really wants to do in her life and see her pursue it. So.
Elizabeth, why did you sit down again? Come back up. You need to present LaShawn.
LaShawn, the depth of your careful reasoning has expanded many of our discussions this year. Your intelligence has created sparks, ignited fireworks around the Clemente table. Your intellectual engines has kept us alive and alert to that which is not quite honest, not quite sincere. May you continue to defy boundaries, leap over tall buildings, and challenge mediocrity. As Aristotle has taught us, there are 2 sorts of excellence: excellence of thought on the one hand, and excellence of character on the other. You, my friend, have given us the gift of both. Thank you for being part of us. Congratulations on the wonderful.
Thank you all.
It's my turn to introduce Lynn. Lynn is admired by her classmates for her constancy. Come on, yeah. For her constancy and her dedication, her readiness to read any passage aloud, no matter how tricky, and her confidence in the class and in the community. I have come to admire the elegance of her thinking and her desire to get those ideas clearly in her writing. I know that Catherine, Tiffany, and Kyle are proud of her. And as of today, I know she knows the mayor, and she's been quoted by Jill Lepore. It's really hard to top that. Now my pleasure to invite up Rudy Griffin White, who moved seats, to please present Lushane.
Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Rudy Griffin White, and I'm Lashane's husband. And it's my pleasure to introduce him, his award, his diploma. I want to say congrats to all the graduates there sitting there. I know it's a lot of hard work, but you guys made it. And thank you to all the distinguished guests, the faculty, Mayor Petty, for being here today. And it's not easy when you're working from home or going through the things he does. He's a very busy person. And sometimes I'm like, dang, how are you doing all of this? But he's managed to get it done. He's perseverance, very hardworking. So it's my honor and my pleasure to present to you your diploma. No, that's yeah. Oh, no problem. Yeah. There you go. Thank you, guys.
During the presentation, Vanessa was leaning over to me saying, "Where's Mary? Where's Mary?" Unfortunately, Mary is ill today. She sent a message, though, to the class. "I am so sad not to be here today. I wanted to see everyone graduate. I learned so much. I want to thank all of my professors for their time and generosity. I love you all. I learned a lot from each student in class. I valued the diversity and appreciated being with such wonderful people. Wishing you all the best. Congratulations to all. Clemente, thank you." From Mary. And now I'd like to invite up Imrana Sufi to present to Nazia.
So I had no idea I actually was going to be saying something. I thought I was just going to be handing Nazia something. That's what she told me. She's like, "You're just going to be in the line and you'll hand it to me." So I was over there trying to think, what am I going to say? There's so many things I could say about this wonderful young girl. She came into my life when she was 13 years old. Her and her mom ended up living with me for 2 years. And because this is about education, I have to talk about, I would see her, she'd show me her report cards and always got A's and B's. And I was like, hey, this is great. And then one day, so this is going to be a little bit of a sad story, but it gets good. So one day, I get a donation of books. So I bring it over and I read it to her and I said, "Read me something." And she couldn't read. And I couldn't understand how someone in 8th grade in the Worcester public school systems could be there and not know how to read and still get A's and B's. So I went to the principal and had a conversation. And she was actually going to be graduated to 9th grade. And I said, this can't happen. It wasn't the regular school. It was a very specific school for immigrant children. And because what I learned, because these kids were so amazing, wonderful kids, well-behaved, the kids just got graded on their behavior. And so all the Arab kids stuck together, all the South Asian kids stuck together, all the African kids stuck together, and they never really learned how to speak. Well, they learned how to speak English, but reading and writing was not something that was really being done, but they were going to be graduated. We fought, and I talked to her mom, and her mom, so we're from South Asia, and in South Asia, you do not graduate until you master something. You can be like 90 years old, but until you master it, you do not graduate. Told her mom, I said, you know, this is happening. And she's like, oh, no, she has to repeat. So basically, Nazia ended up transferring school. Instead of going into the 9th grade, instead of graduating into the 9th grade, she repeated 8th grade. Yes, we can get in there. I get to tell the story now. We took her, we brought her to another public school, and they gave her a chance. She did 8th grade over again. And then the next year, they said she's still not ready. She did it again. So she did 8th grade 3 times. And I am so proud of her. We got a tutor who would come to the house and tutor her. And then when the tutor had a baby, she would take the bus and go to the tutor's house to learn. And I think I am so proud of her. And this is a 13-year-old girl that I have seen kind of just go through this. And she graduated high school. She did ROTC all 4 years. And I spoke to her and she's like, I don't think I'm ready to go to college. I'm like, what? She's like, I don't think my English is that good. I'm like, are you serious? So anyways, it was a little bit too late. We could have gotten her admission, but she wouldn't have gotten financial aid. And then it clicked, Clemente. So that's how I don't know if you know this story, but that's how she ended up at Clemente. And I am so happy for this program to be here because there's so many of our kids, specifically immigrant kids, who may not have a parent at home who can advocate for them, who may not know the language. They are falling through the cracks, even with the teachers there and the counselors there. You know, they're perfectly ready to go to college, but somehow they just don't believe they can do it. So I was happy to have Nazia come here and be able to finish the Clemente program, and I'm happy to say she's going to be going to Worcester State. So thank you, Clemente, for making this possible. All right, I'm ready to stop crying and give her her diploma.
I'm now looking for Kason Jones to please come up and present to Neston.
Finally, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we can have dinner dates. I just want to say I'm so proud of you, Neston, for your perseverance and your, in Jamaica, we would say stick-to-itiveness. Just to think about the number of times you've come home from work and thinking, I'm so exhausted, but still making that courage, having that drive to attend your classes. And today, we can now celebrate. Congratulations.
Elizabeth, you're up again. You should just sit in the front, please. Please come and present to Naveen. Where'er you walk, cool glade shall fan the glade. Trees where you sit shall crowd into a shade. Trees where you sit shall crowd into a shade. Naveen, these words written by George Frederick Handel so many years ago speak to me of you. You have brought such calm and joyful presence into the room this year. You have buoyed the spirits of us all through your gentle kindness. As your command of the English language grew, so did your willingness to share your expansive and thoughtful views. May these qualities serve you well in the months and years ahead. Where'er you tread, the blushing flowers shall rise, and all things flourish, and all things flourish where'er you turn your eyes. Thank you for spending this year with us, and congratulations on this wonderful achievement. And now Sean Martin, please come and present to Romar.
Good evening. Another surprise. I didn't even know I was going to get to talk today, but and also I needed to bring my COVID vaccine. But nonetheless, Romar, I've known you for over 2 years now, and I just see you grow and grow and grow. And I've noticed with you that there are times that you've had some self-doubt and some insecurities. But the mere fact that you're able to complete this today shows me that you are overcoming those insecurities step by step by step. So continue putting one step forward and move towards your goal. Congratulations, my friend.
I know. I did. And now, Tariq. And if Bernard Poppy could please come forward, thank you.
Mine is Bernard Poppy, and Tariq came to stay with me a couple years ago. He had left Jamaica abruptly looking for political asylum, for death threats, for not a thing that he had ever done, but for who he is. I'm overwhelmed by the program that you have. This is absolutely amazing. Like the others, Tariq asked me to give him his certificate. And I said, sure. And then after I already accepted, he said, oh, you have to speak for 2 minutes. And my first thought was, 2 minutes? My second thought was, only? Because I could go on. And, you know, the certificate of humanities, it's fitting because there's so much in your life. And I mean, I can't help but think of Buffalo too today. There's so many threats to our humanity that to have a course in humanity so richly honored and pursued is absolutely extraordinary. So I want to not only give you your certificate, but really thank the people who organized and sponsored this. This is absolutely incredible. So Tariq, here is your certificate.
Elizabeth Bacon. You don't get to skip. Vanessa, please come forward so Elizabeth can present you with your diploma.
Vanessa, what an honor it is to stand here today and give you this. From the very first time I met you, I knew you were someone special. And what a joy it has been to watch you move into your becoming this year. The words of the poet Alison Loderman say it best. I see you and I think of the invisible work, the work that stitches up the world day and night, the slow and glamorous work of healing. The way the worms in the garden tunnel ceaselessly so the earth can breathe. And bees ransack this world into being. While owls and poets stalk shadows, our loneliest labors under the moon. There are mothers for everything. And the sea is a mother too, whispering and whispering to us long after we have stopped listening. Stop and let yourself lean a moment against the blue shoulder of the air. The work of your heart is the work of the world's heart. There is no other art. Thank you for your love and laughter you bring to so many. Congratulations.
Victoria had to leave early to go to a family wedding. She battled the bride's mother to be able to be here for the beginning of our ceremony, and we're so grateful. Her daughter, Mary, sent some remarks to share about Victoria. Victoria has been many things to many people. She is a daughter, a sister, a teacher, a friend to almost all she meets. However, the role she has been best in has been a mother. Having immigrated from Egypt in the hopes of providing a better life for her children than herself, Victoria, like many immigrant mothers, has made many sacrifices, both seen and unseen, out of sheer love for her daughters. If you asked Victoria why she took part in this program, she would tell you that the reason why was to be more aware of the unfamiliar world around her, to better fit into society, and to overall become a mom her children could be proud of. However, she not only is someone her daughters are beyond proud of, she, in her passion of being a lifelong learner, has unknowingly become the best role model for her daughters. There are not enough words to demonstrate how proud we are of her many accomplishments, including partaking in this program, and can only dream of being half the person that Victoria is. Congratulations on this accomplishment. May there be many more in your future. We will end as we began with Ben Mayiga coming back up. I hope that's not news. To please present to Manasseh.
Hi everyone, Idris Lawali Abdu. So I'm very happy to be here to present this certificate to Manasseh, a very good friend. Like we say in French, félicitations, bravo pour le travail. So I just say congratulations and well done for the work. And congratulations to all of you. I wish you all the best, and I wish you also all the impact you want to achieve in your career and all the goals you have. And thank you.
We are officially in the home stretch. But if you are keeping score at home, things that have gone wrong, students, open your copies of James Baldwin. There'll be a short assignment. Now swap copies because there are book plates designating which copy is yours. We have an extra Bashan. As I said, controlled chaos. If I could please ask Mayor Petty to come join me up here. I will call the roll. Does that sound reasonable? Okay. This definitely wasn't supposed to happen while we were handing out the diplomas. We wanted to call the students up twice. So please come and be recognized by the Office of the Mayor of Worcester, Romaine. Christine. I'll steal Doris. Kelly. LaShawn. For those not paying attention, Lushane is doing my job. He told LaShawn to come up. Lynn. Lynn. Lushane. I will take Nausea. Nausea. Neston. Naveen. Romar. Tariq. Vanessa. And Manasa. I forgot to announce the tassel moving. You move your tassels from the right to the left to indicate that you have graduated. It is my pleasure this year to present for the first time 2 endowed prizes. The Trachtenberg prizes are endowed in the memory of Thea Trachtenberg. Thea was an Emmy-winning producer at Good Morning America. She produced segments with Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and her celebrity crush, Bono. But what she loved most was mentoring young producers and telling stories that lifted others up. Thea passed away too soon. These prizes honor her life and her devotion to the humanities. The first prize is the Thea Trachtenberg Prize for Outstanding Alumni Service, and it is my honor to present it to Donald Vo. The 2022 Trachtenberg Prize for Excellence in the Humanities, selected by the Clemente Worcester faculty, goes this year to Victoria Morcos, who had to leave for her family wedding, and to Vanessa Gonzalez Oyola, who is here. We're not done yet, but we're very nearly done. So hang in with me, Amaris, really close. So back in September, during the first evening we met as a class, I suggested that each of you was an archive. And look where we ended up. I plan to tell next year's class that they are a first class ticket to the destination of my choice. Plan ahead, seating will be limited. In the fall, the You Are an Archive talk was my cute way of encouraging you all to be organized, to take notes, to save important emails, which you obviously didn't read, and to keep track of your assignments. It was also my first pitch for the utility, the richness, and the joy of my discipline. Without archives, historians would have very little to work with in discovering the past. Archivists make decisions about what documents have value. That can be risky business because what we ask about and of the past is changeable. You'll perhaps remember our friend Carl Becker of Every Man His Own Historian fame. When I was in college, I did research in popular magazines from the 19th century. They had been carefully preserved in bound volumes and placed in the stacks. But the advertisements had been torn out to conserve space. The well-intentioned university librarians had not anticipated my questions. I wanted those ads. I hope you all will take a moment to review your personal archives of our course, including the chapbook Mark made for you and the program for today's ceremony. What new questions will you bring to the material? Can you detect the outlines of your current self in your early notes and struggles to make meaning? Did the syllabi and readings anticipate your present day questions? And now a confession. Back in September, I gave you only half a metaphor. A good archive does more than collect, catalog, and preserve. The very best ones want to be surprised, stretched, challenged, and reinterpreted by contact with others. No doubt an archive like this one serves its readers, but readers like us serve the archive, revealing the archive to itself by asking previously unanticipated questions. This is the symbiotic superpower we all share and celebrate here today. Each of us cataloging and surprising, each of us preserving and challenging existing knowledge. You are an archive. Write in the margins of your books to preserve a record of what you think now. Revisit your notes, whether one set or two. And when the time comes, pass your books on so others can decipher and add to the marginalia. Be surprised, stretched, challenged, and reinterpreted by what they find. Open your doors wide and invite others in. Congratulations and thank you all. I have one last word of thanks. Are you fixing my hair? Before I let you all go, I need to just acknowledge what I hope has been clear. The Clemente Worcester program is a team sport. I want to thank the Clemente Worcester Advisory Board members who are present and ask them to stand. I'd like to thank Claudia Bastante, who runs the Clemente Child's Program, and her WSU student interns, Ngozi Wachuku, Audra Miller, and Sam Egan. I'd like to take a moment to thank the people who house us, the Worcester Art Museum, Executive Director Matthew Swaszczek, who is here, and also the Senior Manager of Institutional Giving, Christine Prophet. I'd like to thank the Trinity Lutheran Church and Pastor Nathan Pipo and Minister of Youth, Families, and Outreach, Jenna Hill. Finally, I'd like to thank Jim Eber of Simon Says Give Worcester, the Worcester Community Writing Center, the Library of America, the American Antiquarian Society for welcoming us to this space and their generous support for today. And I would also like to thank Jill Lepore, who agreed to be our commencement speaker even before class started in the fall. She said yes to this last August. And as you saw, she was refining her remarks to the last minute, getting in those last references to the chapbook. That is the Clemente way. So thank you all. And this concludes the 2022 commencement ceremonies. You want to
Take a
go?
deep breath.
You want to take pictures?
Well, and I'm here. I mean, it's lovely outside, so we could do it. I'm almost out of battery. I tried my best. I did not hear Jill Lepore or you. I had eyes on the ball.
It's recording.
I know. I'm going to tell Vanessa. Amy, can I